It's another morning here in Italy. Somehow it still feels a little weird for me to say that, but we're very happy to be back here in Europe and we're so happy to have you here with us. So thank you. If you haven't already, hit the like button and the subscribe button. It means a lot to us. Let's get into it. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the things that we've kind of forgotten about Europe having moved to Japan. Very quick recap. We used to live in Germany. We were there for almost 3 years. Then we moved to Japan for 1 year. Unexpectedly, we're back here in Italy and we've never lived here. This is our first time living here. We've traveled here before and we've loved every time we have. And now we're experiencing our new life here. Moving here has definitely come with some culture shocks, and I would also say some reverse culture shocks. Like the things that we forgot about Europe. And the first one is just how different each country is here in Europe. When we lived in Germany, this became very clear very fast. We traveled a lot during our time in Germany, and we also only lived about an hour from the Czech Republic. But it was always so interesting to us that after driving that hour and entering into Czech, especially like exploring Prague, we noticed vast differences. And we're not just talking like sites and architecture, because some of that could be very similar, but honestly so much of it is different. The cuisine, the supermarkets and what they offer, of course the language, kind of the cultures and demeanors of people, it just is so different in each country. And that's what I think is so beautiful about Europe, is that it's just got so much culture. For us coming from Utah, you can drive for 8 hours and barely be entering into a new state. Whereas here, 8 hours in Europe could be, 2 to 3 different countries if you want. So I think that was just like a big realization for us. And then having lived in Japan, where it's so homogenous, the people look very, very similar. We definitely stood out. It's its own island, and so of course there's not like other countries around it. I think it's just like been something that's taken us back and like kind of surprised us again, is just how different each country is. So let me give you an example. There is a Lidl close by this space, which was really exciting for us because we would go grocery shopping at Lidl sometimes while in Germany. And once we walked in, the layout was fairly similar, but both Tanner and I were surprised at how different the products were. So of course, we're in Italy, it should be offering Italian products, but I guess for some reason it was still kind of a surprise of just like how different the products were. Just even say this out loud, I'm like, well duh, like it shouldn't come as a surprise, but it does. And I think one of the reasons is because if you, for example, compare like Walmart and Target in the US, the products offered in both of these stores are going to be very, very similar, whether you're in like the East Coast in New York or even down south in Florida. And also if you go to like Oregon or California, you're going to be finding very, very similar products, if not the exact same. Although the US is so big, it's just like the same sort of products at the big same grocery store chains, big stores and corporations. And yeah, I mean, it's the same country, so like, duh, but it's a huge country. So anyways, we love the variety, we love the differences. Another thing we just, I think, forgot was how long Europeans take to eat. And I actually saying that, I actually think it's an awesome thing. Like, it's a very social environment. They slow down, they're mindful with eating. It's like an experience, and I love that. When we initially moved to Japan, we were very surprised about just the opposite of how fast they ate. They go in, they have a mission. There's a lot of solo eaters. So they say, for example, go into a ramen shop, they sit down, order their food, and they're in and out in 15 minutes, not an exaggeration. I still think it's like a very mindful eating. I feel like Japanese are very grateful for their food. A lot of people like have a mantra before they eat, expressing gratitude for their food. There's a lot of like terms in Japanese that just talk about like only eating to 80% full. So I don't think it's like, rushed eating and not like enjoying it. Not at all. I think there's a lot to learn within the Japanese culture. They just like are focused and honed in, and then they're going on to the next thing. Anyways, coming here with kids, it definitely has been a shock to the system, and we have spent multiple times like 2 hours at a restaurant. So it's been a little bit of a shock to us, but yeah, I guess we're just gonna have to be more prepared for our meals. Hi.
Hi.
That was about all I was gonna say. Here, come here. Was there anything else about food you wanted to mention? Eating out?
Have to just have the expectations for slower, longer meals. Alright, this next topic is about noise, specifically comparing our experience in Japan to here, because that's the most fresh on our minds. And it happens to be a little ironic because we were going to talk about how much louder it is in Europe compared to Japan, and that is still the case. But I was hoping here today it would be a little more lively. We're here in the main piazza in Vicenza, and it is pretty quiet. Probably because of the rain. Either way, when talking about noise, the first thing that comes to my mind is just how quiet it is in a lot of public settings. Particularly, and probably most recognizable, is when you are on public transportation. It is eerily quiet. And I will say this, like the busiest packed trains that we've been on, coming home from fireworks one time, it was so quiet on the trains that you could literally hear someone at the other end of the carriage with like 100 other people. You could hear someone sneeze because it was so quiet, but almost too quiet. Compared to here in Italy, we took the bus to get here today, and there were people just carrying on normal noise level conversations, and especially since our girls are typically louder than anyone was in Japan, it feels natural for us to be able to have conversations, to be able to talk to them, not have to feel like I'm always trying to keep them quiet, if that makes sense. And it's not a hit on either place, because honestly it was really nice to have it nice and quiet and just like a peaceful ride to your next destination, but at the same time it's really nice to be able to have a normal conversation at a voice level, and that's just like the norm. Now in other social settings like walking down the street or even in restaurants, it is noticeably louder here in Europe, and you just hear a lot more people laughing and talking, and I guess just being a little more carefree about their conversations. Not quite to the level of like what we have experienced in the US, but still quite a noticeable difference between the two countries. Now the last thing about noise is another social interaction, and that's like saying good morning, buongiorno, hello, ciao, and other greetings to complete strangers at a store or passing by the street. That wasn't always the case in Japan, although they had great customer service. That was usually between like the person working at the store and the customer, rather than just two customers. Again, I want to emphasize that it is not a bad thing to be quieter or to be louder, but it's just something that we've noticed and remembered coming back to Europe. As we've been filming this video, it's been fun to reminisce on all of the memories made and really to see how much progress we've made and growth that we've had as a couple and as individuals. We've loved our time overseas, and it seems to me that there are a lot of other Americans who are doing the same thing, seeking opportunities to live abroad. So to all of my American friends who are living overseas, where are you living now, where are you coming from, and what are your hopes and dreams in your new area? So to all of my American friends who are living abroad, this is your gentle reminder that you are still required to file taxes with the IRS no matter who you work for or where you are working. As many of you can probably relate, filing your own taxes is quite daunting under the simplest of circumstances, and to be honest, the tax code is continuously changing, so it's hard to keep up. Add on top of that you're no longer in the US, it can be adding more stress to the subject. That's why I'm happy to be filing my taxes for the third year in a row with Bright Tax. As our lives have become busier and our taxes more complicated, it has been crucial to have a tax professional be in our corner to make sure that our taxes are filed on time and correctly. I personally love working with the team at Bright Tax because of their expertise and personal approach, their accuracy guarantee, and their CPAs are going to make sure that you get the maximized refunds that you deserve. So if you're an American who lives overseas and you need help with filing your US taxes, be sure to click the link below and find out how Bright Tax can help you get your taxes filed on time and correctly. Now with that, let's get back to the video. As you can see, I am bundled up here today. It is noticeably colder than the last few days have been with the rain and the clouds today, and that brings us to our next point, is the weather. Now, even though we are further south than Germany and many of the northern European countries, it still has been noticeably cloudy. Like the first week we got here, it was almost completely cloudy and we didn't see the sun, and when we finally did, we were like, oh my gosh, we haven't had that long without sun for the entire time we were in Japan. Now, I know for sure there are plenty places in Japan, like they're having a record snow year right now, so there's many places who are probably just as cloudy and gloomy as it is right now, but that is something we do miss, honestly, about Japan and the area that we lived in. That being said, the area where we live now, compared to where we lived in Germany, does get more sunlight, it is warmer, and we are definitely happy about that situation. But for now, we just noticed it's a little less sunlight than it was in Japan, where we lived. Nice. Our first focaccia sandwich. Says the girl who's had like maybe one ever in her life.
We love you.
Now the final topic for today's video happens to be greenery, and more specifically just how much greenery and farmland is in the local area compared to where we were in Japan. Now, that doesn't go without saying there were a lot of like trees and vegetation because Japan has so much growth all over, but it just happened to be that we were in such a concrete jungle, even being about an hour south of Tokyo, that it felt like we had to go quite a bit, like 20 to 30 minutes, to really even get to like bigger farm fields and farming areas. So coming here to Vicenza and the Veneto region, it is so easy because right over the fence here is farmland, and farmland for acres and acres, and it's just really nice to be able to feel like we can connect with nature more. We're close to a lot of hills and mountains and lots of farmland. In fact, the other day we were driving to look at a house and we were following a tractor that was throwing up lots of mud. So it honestly took us back to our time of like growing up in northern Utah, southern Idaho, and also to our time back in Germany where we lived very much so in the countryside. As many of you guys know based on our channels and just like our preferences, we love being outside and exploring, adventuring, really connecting with nature. So we love the fact that we have so many places to go and explore around here. We have the Alps that are just a few hours away. We have tons of walking, tons of hiking. The ocean is not very far away, so we're really looking forward to our adventures here in Italy. Well, there you have it. These are a few of our thoughts and those initial impressions of coming back to Europe and those things that have stuck out to us.
So anyways, we're gonna head in and cozy up, but today was a fun day.
Yeah, it was good to get outside. It was a little drizzly, as you guys knew, but we love being outdoors. This is like our happy place, and we're looking forward to exploring so much of this region.
Definitely stay tuned. We have a lot of fun adventures coming up. We're gonna start to travel more, and we are very excited. If you haven't already, be sure to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and we will see you on the next video. Peace, like Japanese. Peace.